Hello, this video is going to walk you through your Unit 2 discussion board initial post. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to complete that Unit 2 discussion board initial post. I'm going to be going back and forth between your prompt and the materials that you can use to help answer your questions. So we are going to start by taking a look at your prompt as a whole. So this is the prompt as you have it in your discussion board. So we're going to go through and we're going to break this down. So we are going to start with the first piece of that assignment, and you'll notice it says your initial post should be between 300 and 500 words. Now I'm not concerned about going over that 500, but I'd like to remind you to make sure that your post is at least 300 words. Close does count. However, if you only submit 150 words, you've only really done half of what was required, and chances are you left out a lot of significant details. So make sure you're getting as close to that 300 words that are required for the assignment as you can. So now we're going to take a look at the story piece of the prompt. And it says, Izzy's manager has asked her to help with a new employee onboarding presentation. Reflecting on what you've learned about the brain in Unit 1 on learning and memory, what might Izzy do to make an effective presentation? So now if you're wondering, well, who is Izzy? If you remember back in Unit 1, you actually read the biography of Izzy. So Izzy's biography was in your required readings for Unit 1. You had Meet Isabella here and a shortened PDF version of it here. So if you don't remember Izzy, you can go back and you can reread this information. So we're going to move on to the last piece of the prompt. We're going to kind of jump ahead because as you work on your question, you're going to need to keep this information in mind. So it says, feel free to draw upon your own experiences and last week's IntelliPath lessons to support your ideas. So as you work on answering your questions, keep in mind you can use your IntelliPath lessons to help you. And again, I'm going to show you right where to look. And you can also think back to trainings you've participated in. What things did they get right that you think would be great to have in the training program? Or what things could have been better? For example, did you go to a training where you're forced to sit there for 4 or 5 hours straight with no breaks? Was that difficult for all of you, even as adult learners? Do you wish they'd given you more breaks? Maybe that's something you could think about for Izzy. Maybe you need to think about giving breaks so that people aren't just sitting there for 4 or 5 hours straight. Now, one thing I want to remind you of, remember that your answer should not just be about personal experience though. Make sure that you're using your learning materials to help you answer the prompt. Make sure you include some of that information as well. So the first piece of the prompt that you're answering is describe things Izzy can add to the presentation that help adults learn. So you are going to need to address things that support adult learners. So this is not about child learners, this is about adult learners. In Unit 1 of your IntelliPath, you had a lesson titled Learning. Do you remember reading this information? It began as adults, people learn differently. This is the information you have in your Unit 1 IntelliPath about adult learners. So these are the things that make adult learners unique. And I'm actually going to go through and talk about these in more detail in your Unit 2 live chat. So I will go through and give more details on these, but just so you know where to find them, here's where you find it. So as you're working on the first piece of the prompt, think about what things Izzy could add to the presentation in order to reach adult learners, to make sure that her presentation is going to help these adult learners. So as you're talking about this, you need to remember to give the why. You would not just say something like, Izzy can have them create a list of goals. Well, why? Now, remember, part of your discussion rubric is that you need to show that you have an understanding of the learning material content. Giving that why makes that connection to the learning material and shows that you understood the information. So instead of just saying this, you might try something like this. Knowing that adult learners are goal-oriented, Izzy can have them create a list of goals at the start of the training. Now let's look at the next piece of your prompt. The next piece of your prompt states, what can she put into the presentation to address multiple learning styles? Now, in that same IntelliPath lesson titled Learning, you had a section titled Learning Styles in the Workplace. So here's how that section begins. You are going to use the information you found here to discuss some of the things that Izzy can do to support these 4 basic learning styles. You're going to show that you understood the learning material when you connect the learning styles to the methods. For example, Izzy can use blank in her presentation to help support blank learners. So you're going to make that connection. What can Izzy put in there and who is it for? So that's going to show that you have understood the learning material. Your third piece of the prompt is all about attention. How can she engage the new employees and keep their attention? In your Unit 1 IntelliPath, you likely remember that there was an entire lesson on attention, and it started like you see here. This is where you're going to be going, is into that lesson of your IntelliPath to find the information to help you answer this next piece. So in this lesson, you learned about the 5 main types of attention. Maybe you want to talk about what kind of attention you want them to pay. You saw a did you know about how long it takes to get back on track after an interruption. Maybe interruptions is something you want to keep in mind. And there was an entire section on improving attention. So this section has multiple different ways that you can work to improve attention. You can discuss any of these. You can also include some of your own ways. What are some things that help you to pay attention? What are some things that you need to be successful and be able to pay attention to things? So once you have completed these 3 portions, these 3 questions, you have completed your discussion assignment. That's all you need to do. Now, your initial post to the Unit 2 discussion board is due by 11:59 p.m. Central Time on Thursday of Unit 2. So some quick reminders. Make sure that if you use any sources like IntelliPath that you're providing a citation. If you take anything word for word, make sure you are properly quoting and citing that information. I hope this video has helped walk you through what you need to do to complete your initial post to the Unit 2 discussion board. I'm looking forward to seeing your post.